The crowd inside the arena was electric, a restless storm of voices surging through the air, each one carrying the weight of expectation. Under the bright glare of the overhead lights, the ring stood as a battlefield waiting for warriors. Two names buzzed through the venue like a chant: Nick Ball and TJ Doheny. This wasn't just a fight. It was a clash of relentless aggression against calculated precision, a meeting of raw ferocity and championship experience. And everyone knew that when the first bell rang, there would be no room for hesitation. Nick Ball had made a name for himself as a relentless force, a fighter who pressed forward with a kind of pressure that broke men long before their bodies gave out. His footwork, his head movement, his unwavering belief in his own ability, it was the kind of style that didn't just win fights, it swallowed opponents whole. But across from him stood a man who had already climbed the mountain, a former world champion who had faced and conquered the kind of battles that could turn promising careers into forgotten names. TJ Doheny wasn't just skilled, he was tested. He had been under the bright lights, had felt the weight of championship rounds, and had proven time and time again that he could find a way to win when it mattered most. The moment the fighter stepped into the ring, the atmosphere shifted. Even the most casual fans could sense it. This wasn't going to be a slow, methodical chess match. There was tension in the air, a feeling that the fight could ignite at any second. Ball, with his compact frame and high guard, bounced on his toes like a coiled spring, his eyes locked onto his opponent with the kind of intensity that sent a clear message. He was here to break. Doheny, in contrast, moved with a measured calm, his experience evident in every slight adjustment of his stance, every calculated breath. He had seen pressure fighters before. He had faced younger, hungrier challengers who thought they could walk him down. And he had made them pay for their mistakes. The crowd roared as the announcer's voice boomed through the speakers, his words slicing through the tension like a blade. The final moments before the opening bell stretched endlessly, a heartbeat suspended in time. Ball's gloves twitched at his sides, his body humming with anticipation. Doheny exhaled slowly, the picture of composure, but behind that mask of calm, his mind was already processing angles, traps, and counters. He knew what was coming. The question was, could he stop it? Then the bell rang. The moment the bell sounded, Ball surged forward like a predator sensing weakness. His gloves were up, his head bobbing with quick, unpredictable movements, and then explosion. A right hand ripped through the space between them, not a feeler jab, but a statement. Doheny barely slipped out of the way, but Ball was already stepping in with a left hook, forcing the veteran to pivot sharply. The sound of leather cracking against gloves echoed through the arena as Doheny tightened his guard, waiting for an opening. He had expected pressure, but this was something else entirely. Ball wasn't just attacking, he was cutting off space like a man who refused to take a step back. Every time Doheny tried to circle out, Ball was already there, pushing, pressing, throwing short, compact shots that forced the Irishman into uncomfortable positions. A hook to the body made Doheny grimace, and for the first time, a flicker of doubt crossed his eyes. Ball's punches weren't just fast, they carried weight, the kind that drained a fighter over rounds. But Doheny wasn't a man to be overwhelmed easily. He had spent years sharpening his craft against fighters just as dangerous, just as relentless. And when Ball got too aggressive, smothering his own work, Doheny fired back. A crisp uppercut sneaked through the gaps in Ball's high guard, snapping his head back. The crowd gasped, and for a split second, Ball hesitated just enough time for Doheny to step to the side and whip a left hand over the top. It was clean. It was sharp. It was exactly the kind of shot that could shift momentum. But if Ball felt it, he didn't show it. He only grinned, his eyes flashing with something almost feral, and came forward again. The fight was turning into a war faster than anyone expected. Both men were landing, neither willing to give an inch. But then something changed. Doheny, the seasoned counterpuncher, began picking his shots with more precision, slipping just enough to stay out of danger before landing sharp counters. A straight left cut across Ball's brow, opening a thin line of red. Blood trickled down the side of his face, but if anything, it only seemed to fuel him. Then, out of nowhere, a moment of hesitation, a split second where Ball's footwork faltered. Doheny saw it and reacted instantly, launching a left that had fight-ending potential. The arena collectively held its breath. But just before it landed, Ball did something unexpected. Instead of pulling back or blocking, he dipped low, almost reckless in how he baited the shot, and then unleashed a vicious counterhook to the body. The impact was brutal. Doheny's breath hitched, his body tensed, and for the first time, he took a step back that wasn't calculated, it was survival. Ball saw it, smelled it, and like a shark drawn to blood, he closed in, his gloves snapping up as he prepared to pour on the kind of pressure that could break even the toughest men. But just as he lunged forward, something happened that no one in the arena had expected. Doheny's back foot slipped slightly as he tried to steady himself, the shock from Ball's body shot still rippling through him. It wasn't just pain, it was a slow drain of control, a feeling fighters dreaded when they realized their legs weren't reacting as fast as their mind. Ball saw it. He wasn't going to let this moment pass. With relentless speed, he closed the gap, feinting high before dipping low again, looking to dig into that same spot and finish what he had started. But just as his fist shot forward, Doheny did something that caught everyone off guard. Instead of retreating or covering up, he pivoted sharply, throwing a short left hook that clipped Ball's jaw with pinpoint accuracy. It wasn't a full power shot, but it was placed perfectly enough to make Ball stumble for the first time in the fight. A murmur rolled through the crowd. Ball had been the one pressing, dictating the pace, but now, in the blink of an eye, Doheny had found a crack in the storm. His instincts took over. He followed up with a snapping jab, then a sharp right hand that landed flush. Ball's head snapped back, and for the first time, he had to reset. Doheny had survived the worst of the onslaught, but he knew Ball wasn't going to slow down. The younger fighter recovered almost immediately, rolling his shoulders, shaking off the impact like it was nothing. His grin returned, but now there was something different in his eyes, not just hunger, but respect. This wasn't going to be an easy finish. If he wanted to take Doheny out, he would have to go through fire to do it. Then came the final explosion. Ball launched himself forward again, throwing a blistering combination hooks, uppercuts, everything designed to overwhelm. Doheny ducked, slipped, and fired back, his veteran instincts keeping him just out of serious trouble. The crowd was deafening, a wall of sound as both men exchanged in the center of the ring, refusing to back down. It was a moment that made time stretch, every second feeling longer than it was, every movement carrying the weight of everything they had trained for. And then Ball found his mark. A short right hand, delivered with the kind of precision that didn't need to be flashy to be effective. It landed just under Doheny's ribs, cutting through his defenses like a knife. His body betrayed him for just a moment, his knees dipping slightly. It was enough. Ball stepped in with another left to the body, then whipped an uppercut straight through the middle. Doheny's head snapped back. His guard loosened. And Ball, smelling the end, let loose. The referee watched closely, stepping in just as Doheny's legs wobbled under the relentless barrage. A final right hand sealed it. The ref had seen enough. He jumped in between them, waving off the fight. It was over. The arena erupted in chaos. Some cheered, some protested, but there was no denying what had just happened. Ball had done what he came to do. As the adrenaline settled, Ball extended a hand toward Doheny, helping him up with a nod of respect. The fight had been brutal, but there was no bad blood, no unnecessary words. Just two warriors who had given everything inside the ropes. As the crowd roared, the realization set in: this wasn't just another win for Ball. This was a message to the entire division. A warning that the relentless storm was only just beginning.